Check. 1 2 1 2.
Live across the universe.
Check it out.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's about that time, y'all.
you are now in the mix. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Give it up for
ATL, stand up. You're locked in with the livest, realest, rawest talk in the game. This is the Bro Code Podcast ATL, where the culture talks back, the vibes stay heavy, and the code always respected. Don't touch that dial. Keep it right here, because we breaking the code live from the A.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Atlanta's hit sports show. This is Bro Code Podcast ATL live from K.L.P Studios. Here's the latest in sports. The NBA just witnessed its youngest championship team in league history, with the Oklahoma City Thunder's average age of 24.3 years old, completely shattering our assumptions about what it takes to win it all.
That's such a remarkable statistic when you think about it. And now, heading into the 2025-26 season, we're seeing the ripple effects of that youth movement across the league.
Speaking of ripple effects, let's talk about how the Thunder's success has influenced team building. Their defensive rating of 105.2 last season was the best we've seen in over a decade, and now everyone's trying to replicate that formula.
Well, that's going to be especially challenging with Kevin Durant joining the Rockets. Their offensive rating in preseason games with KD on the floor has been hovering around 118 points per 100 possessions.
You know what's fascinating about Durant's move to Houston? The analytics department projects they'll have the highest effective field goal percentage in NBA history if their preseason numbers hold up. Their spacing with Durant has been absolutely revolutionary.
But don't you think those numbers might be a bit inflated given the preseason competition?
That's a fair point, but here's what makes it interesting. Even if we adjust for preseason inflation, they're still projected to break the Warriors' 2016 offensive efficiency record. And speaking of records, have you seen the injury report numbers across the league?
Oh, right. The league is dealing with a 15% increase in soft tissue injuries compared to last season. The Kyrie Irving and Jason Tatum situations are just the tip of the iceberg.
And that's exactly why teams like Cleveland are going all in on their medical staff investments. They've spent over $50 million on their new training facility, which includes some pretty groundbreaking injury prevention technology.
The technological integration in the NBA has become so sophisticated. I heard the Knicks are using AI to predict potential injury risks during games now.
That's right, and you know what's really interesting about that? Their new system has already prevented 3 potential long-term injuries during preseason by identifying subtle changes in player movement patterns. The league has come so far from the days of just icing knees and hoping for the best.
Speaking of player health, the Clippers' approach to load management this season is unlike anything we've seen before.
Well, their new micro-rotation system is fascinating. They're using these incredibly detailed 5-minute rotation patterns based on real-time biometric data. It's completely changing how we think about player substitutions.
That level of precision in player management is remarkable. How do you see this affecting teams like the Warriors who are trying to extend their veterans' careers?
The Warriors have actually been quietly pioneering some of these approaches. Their practice facility now has this incredible virtual reality system that allows their veterans to maintain their timing and chemistry while reducing physical wear and tear. They've reduced practice injuries by 40% since implementing it.
You know, that reminds me of what the Lakers are doing with LeBron. Their new recovery protocols are pretty groundbreaking.
Absolutely fascinating stuff there. The Lakers have invested in this hyperbaric chamber system that's showing incredible results. LeBron's recovery metrics are actually better now than they were 2 years ago, which is mind-blowing when you consider he's approaching 40.
The evolution of player care in the NBA has been remarkable. Even rebuilding teams are getting in on it.
Right, and that's what makes this season so intriguing. We're seeing this perfect storm of technological innovation, youth movement, and veteran adaptation. The Thunder's championship run last year might have been just the beginning of a completely new era in basketball.
So what do you think this means for the future of the sport?
Well, looking at the data and trends, we're likely seeing the emergence of what I'd call hybrid basketball. where traditional skills meet cutting-edge science. Teams that can master both elements, like we're seeing with the Thunder and now potentially the Rockets with Durant, are going to have a significant advantage.
That's going to make this season incredibly unpredictable.
And that's exactly why we can't wait to see how it all unfolds. Whether it's the Thunder defending their title, Durant's impact in Houston, or these technological innovations changing the game, we're witnessing a transformation of basketball as we know it. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And remember, the future of basketball is already here. It's just not evenly distributed yet. Coming up, we have Tyler and Marcus with the latest.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Sports Pulse podcast, where we dive deep into the ever unpredictable world of professional football. I'm Marcus Thompson, and if there's one thing the NFL teaches us year after year, it's that certainty is a myth. What felt like gospel in September can be ancient history by the time Halloween rolls around. We form these strong opinions, right? This team is dominant. That offense is broken. But as we hit the middle of October, things look dramatically different for some of our most interesting teams. It's like watching a high-stakes poker game where the cards keep getting shuffled, and just when you think you know who's holding the winning hand, bam, a new narrative emerges. Today, we're going to unpack some of those seismic shifts, break down why they're happening, and talk about what it means moving forward. And I'm thrilled to have my good friend, the one and only Tyler Brooks, joining me to lend his unique, excitable Southern charm and keen insights. Tyler, my man, glad to have you aboard.
Marcus, always a pleasure, brother. And you hit the nail on the head. This league, it just keeps you guessing, doesn't it? One minute you're riding high, the next you're scratching your head wondering what just happened. It's why we love it though, isn't it? The drama, the unexpected twists and turns. I've got my sweet tea ready and I'm fired up to talk some football with you and all our listeners.
Absolutely, Tyler. And speaking of twists, let's kick things off with a team that had everyone, and I mean everyone, raising eyebrows early on, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, if you told me in early September that the Kansas City Chiefs offense would look broken, I'd probably laugh you out of the studio. But guess what? Through their 0-2 start, it was broken. It felt like Mahomes was the only thing holding it together, scrambling and creating magic out of sheer force of will. But oh, how the narrative has flipped. Over the past 4 weeks, they've jumped to first in EPA per play when you remove garbage time. Think about that. First in the league. And they're scoring touchdowns on 56% of their meaningful possessions since week 4, compared to a league average of 26%. It's an astronomical leap. What happened? Well, the return of Rashee Rice from injury and suspension, along with Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown finally playing together, has been a game changer. They're getting open, folks. The Chiefs' pass catchers were 22nd in open target rate through 3 games. Now, they're at a league-best 62.8% over the last 4. That's a staggering difference, and it speaks volumes about the talent now on the field. Combine that with better pass protection for Mahomes, who's only facing quick pressures on 6% of his dropbacks, the lowest in the league, and you have the ingredients for an absolute offensive explosion.
Hold on, Marcus. You're telling me Mahomes ain't just playing spectacular, he's got time and open receivers? That's just unfair, man. Watching Rice come back and immediately make an impact, it's like they just unlocked a whole new level. It's almost like they were playing on rookie mode and now they've cranked it up to all Madden. That Raiders game, just a showcase. They sat Mahomes in the 4th quarter and still dropped 31 points. That ain't just beating a hapless opponent, that's dominance, plain and simple. It sure feels like the old Chiefs offense, the one that terrorizes defenses, is back with a vengeance, and I wouldn't bet against them sticking with this momentum.
From offensive explosion to, well, something a little messier. Let's pivot to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Remember their 4-1 start? Looked great on paper, but if you were paying close attention, the offense was a hot mess. Procedural penalties, drops, sloppy turnovers from Trevor Lawrence. They were riddled with unforced errors. The defense was bailing them out, forcing a ridiculous 15 takeaways in those first 5 games. That's unsustainable, folks. And guess what? Turnover regression has hit hard. Over their last 2 losses, the defense has forced 0 takeaways, putting all the pressure on an offense that simply isn't clean enough to sustain long drives. Those drops, the penalties, they're still biting them. They have the second worst catch rate over expectation in the entire NFL. There's talent, absolutely, but until they clean up the mental mistakes, it's going to be a struggle to consistently win. It's like having a Ferrari but constantly running out of gas because you forget to close the fuel cap.
Man, it's just frustrating to watch the Jags sometimes. All that potential, and then boom, a flag for an illegal shift, or a ball just slips through a receiver's hands. It's the self-inflicted wounds that just kill them. Meanwhile, down in Indy, who would have thought we'd be talking about Daniel Jones as an MVP candidate? Remember the flash in the pan talk? Well, that pan is on full boil now. The Colts are the best offense in the league by several metrics, leading in EPA per play and points per possession. Jones is throwing with an average of 8.4 air yards per throw, 7th highest in the NFL, completely shedding that point guard image from New York. He's taking sacks on a league-best 2.6% of his dropbacks, and Shane Steichen has him absolutely thriving with play action. And Jonathan Taylor, back to being arguably the best running back in football. They're just overwhelming defenses. It's a complete turnaround, and frankly, I'm loving every minute of this Colts resurgence.
Now, let's shift gears to a team that, just weeks ago, many were penciling in for the top seed in the AFC, the Buffalo Bills. After a dramatic comeback win against the Ravens and what looked like a favorable schedule, visions of 7-0 or even 8-0 before facing the Chiefs were dancing in Bills Mafia's heads. But, as we know, schedules are funny things. After a 4-0 start, the stack fell over. Losses to the Patriots and Falcons have them at 4-2, and suddenly that clear path looks a lot foggier. The biggest culprit, my friends? Turnovers. After a historic 12-game stretch where their offense turned the ball over just once, Josh Allen and company have coughed it up 6 times in their last 3 games. That's a dramatic swing. Allen's QBR under pressure, which was previously elite, has plummeted to 12.2 over this rough patch. They've gone from a positive play factory to a team plagued by mistakes. On the defensive side, it's a similar story. This was an excellent defense, but they've only managed 5 takeaways in 6 games this season after having 10 multi-takeaway games last year. The secondary is struggling, and without constant pressure, they've been putty, as the article puts it. It's not just one thing, it's a confluence of issues that have them searching for their identity.
Yeah, Marcus, it's a head-scratcher with the Bills, ain't it? It's like they had this magical force field around the football, and suddenly it just vanished. Josh Allen, bless his heart, he's a warrior, but he's forcing throws, and those fumbles, they're just compounding the problems. And that defense, man, it used to be lights out, a real difference maker. Now they're not getting those game-changing turnovers, and opponents are picking them apart when they don't get pressure. It feels like they've lost their mojo, their swagger. They've got the Chiefs coming up in a couple of weeks, and they have to figure out who they are before that showdown. Are they the team that was an early season juggernaut, or the ones struggling to hold on to the football and make plays on defense? The clock is ticking, and the AFC East isn't waiting around for them to find the answers.
All right, let's talk about one of the NFL's most puzzling phenomena this season, the Seattle Seahawks and their disappearing home field advantage. For years, Lumen Field, or the Clink as it was known, was a fortress. The 12s, their incredible fan base, were legendary, hitting seismometer-registering levels of noise, forcing opponents into false starts, creating the Beastquake. It was an absolute nightmare for visiting teams, ranking second only to Arrowhead in toughest places to play just last season. But listen to this. Since Coach Mike McDonald took over, the Seahawks are 4-8 at home, while simultaneously boasting an NFL best 10-1 road record since the start of 2024. That disparity is just wild. What's going on? Well, it's multifaceted. Opposing fans, particularly the 49ers, are showing up in droves, diluting the 12's impact. The Seahawks' complex defensive scheme relies heavily on verbal pre-snap communication, which can be hampered by the very noise their own fans create. Plus, as Richard Sherman told the team and General Manager John Schneider echoed, the players have to earn that crowd energy. They're not just going to come here and cheer their butts off for a struggling home team. The organization is actively trying to curb ticket resales to opposing fans and emphasize winning at home, but it's a deep-seated issue that needs a turnaround on the field to fully resolve.
Marcus, it's just bizarre, isn't it? You hear about the beast quake, you see those clips of the crowd just shaking the stadium, and now it's Go Pack Go chants in their own house? That just ain't right. As a player, you feed off that energy, that palpable feeling that the stadium is against the other guys. If you're hearing the opposing team's chant, that's gotta hit you right in the gut. And that defensive communication point is fascinating. It's like their own strength is becoming a weakness in some ways. They've got to find a way to make that place hostile again, not just for the other team's offense, but for their fans too, so they don't feel like they're selling their home field advantage to the highest bidder. It's a challenge for sure, but man, those 12s deserve to be rocking again.
So, as we wrap things up today, what's abundantly clear is that the NFL season is less about fixed narratives and more about constant adaptation. The Chiefs, once written off, have found their rhythm and are terrifying again. The Colts, led by a revitalized Daniel Jones, have shattered all expectations and are dominating. Then you have the Buffalo Bills, a powerhouse now grappling with turnovers and defensive lapses, searching for their identity amidst a challenging stretch. The Jacksonville Jaguars, a team with talent, are still their own worst enemy with penalties and drops. And of course, the Seattle Seahawks, wrestling with the mystery of their once legendary home field advantage. What connects all these stories is the incredible fluidity of this league. Teams rise, teams fall, and the ones that adapt, that fix their flaws, and that truly define who they are the ones that will be standing tall when the playoffs roll around. It's a testament to coaching, player execution, and that intangible grit.
That's right, Marcus. It's not about how you start, it's how you finish and who can make those critical adjustments. The Chiefs showed us you can absolutely flip the script. The Colts proved that a quarterback can completely reinvent himself. The Bills and Jags are facing that crossroads right now. And the Seahawks, they've got to get that energy back in Lumen Field. Every week is a new chapter in this book, and I, for one, can't wait to see how these stories unfold. Will the Chiefs maintain their dominance? Can the Colts sustain this offensive onslaught? Will the Bills find their footing? Can the Jags clean up their act? And will the 12s roar once more? Only time and a whole lot of football will tell.
Fantastic points, Tyler. And that's all the time we have for today on the Sports Pulse podcast. A huge thank you to Tyler Brooks for his incredible insights, and to all of you, our amazing listeners, for tuning in. Keep those comments and questions coming, and remember, in the NFL, expect the unexpected. We'll catch you.
It all comes down to Game 7 in the American League Championship Series, with a trip to the World Series on the line. The Toronto Blue Jays cruised a victory over the Seattle Mariners in a must-win Game 6 on Sunday night to keep their championship aspirations alive and force Monday's win-or-go-home ALCS finale, with the winner set to take on the Los Angeles Dodgers in the Fall Classic. Will Toronto finish off the comeback, or will Seattle punch its ticket to its first World Series appearance? We asked our MLB experts to answer 7 questions that would decide Game 7, plus a bonus one looking forward to how the AL pennant winner could match up against the reigning champions. 1. How much will home field advantage matter for Toronto in Game 7? Jorge Castillo. It doesn't hurt. The crowds at Rogers Center down the stretch of the regular season and into October have been electric. Players have repeatedly complimented the atmosphere. But the Mariners won games 1 and 2 in Toronto. Those crowds were raucous, and it didn't matter. Buster Olney. It could mean nothing. The Mariners know they can win in Toronto, as they did in games 1 and 2. But I do think that getting a lead will be important. Because if Seattle falls behind by 2 or 3 runs, the challenge of winning one final game at Rogers Center will be made more difficult by the bonkers crowd. 2. The Mariners have had vibes on their side all season long. How much will Seattle's ability to keep finding a way matter in Game 7? Jeff Passan, vibes take a team only so far. The Mariners are here because of their starting pitching and ability to hit home runs, and they need George Kirby to avoid another disastrous start and the offense to chill with the strikeouts. In Game 3, Kirby got shelled for 8 runs, half of which came on 3 home runs. He instead needs to channel his last win-or-go-home game, when he throttled Detroit for 5 innings in the division series. While Seattle has out-homered the Blue Jays in the ALCS, its 28.1% strikeout rate is not good, and Shane Bieber, on the mound for Toronto, will rely heavily on spin, so that happens to play right into his wheelhouse. Both teams are worn down, and getting an early lead would go a long way toward getting the Mariners' offense right. Olney. After Game 6, the Mariners talked about how their energy is good and that coming back is part of their identity. But it's much more important for Seattle to play a clean game, which Julio Rodriguez mentioned after Sunday's loss. The Mariners made many mistakes early in Game 6, with defensive errors from Rodriguez and Eugenio Suarez, and a base-running mistake by J.P. Crawford. The Blue Jays consistently put the ball in play and pressure the defense, and Seattle has to respond better to survive. 3. Which team has a Game 7 pitching advantage, and why? David Schoenfield. Slight edge overall to the Blue Jays, mostly based on how the pitching matchup played out in Game 3, when Bieber pitched well 6 innings for hits, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts, 16 swinging strikes, and Kirby did not for innings, 8 runs, 3 home runs, 9 swinging strikes. The Mariners have a late-game edge with Andres Munoz, who will have 2 days of rest after not pitching in Game 6. Blue Jays closer Jeff Hoffman threw 35 pitches Sunday. The Mariners do have some early long relief options available in Brian Wu and Luis Castillo, who threw just 48 pitches in his Game 4 start. But Castillo's been terrible on the road, and Wu is an unknown risk. Pitching on 2 days of rest coming off an injury. Look for Kevin Gausman to be a bullpen option for the Blue Jays. Indeed, the Jays would probably like to use Bieber, Gausman, Lewis, Varland, and Hoffman, and go no deeper in their pen than that. If someone else gets in the game, though, the Mariners have a chance. Castillo. The starting pitching edge goes to Toronto for the reasons David presented, but the unknown variable here is Brian Wu. The all-star right-hander was Seattle's ace during the regular season, but a pectoral injury has limited him to those 2 innings in Game 5. If he can give the Mariners any real, effective length, I think the overall advantage goes to Seattle with Andres Munoz also on 3 days rest. Wu is the best pitcher in this series when healthy. He could be the difference. 4. Which player must deliver for Seattle to win? Schoenfield, Kirby. Through 6 ALCS games, Bryce Miller is the only Mariners starter who has had a good game, and he was the worst of the group in the regular season. Even with 2 solid efforts from Miller, the rotation has a 7.33 ERA in this series, allowing a .310 average and .993 OPS. Kirby doesn't have to go deep, and won't be expected to, but Seattle needs 4 or 5 strong innings from him. Castillo. Since David went with Kirby, I'll go with Cal Raleigh. The AL MVP candidate has been Seattle's best player all year, from the regular season to the playoffs, on both sides of the ball. So it's strange to see him have such a rough Game 6, going 0 for 3 strikeouts, a GIDP, and a throwing error that allowed Toronto's final run to score. It's hard to imagine the Mariners winning Game 7 without some contributions from Raleigh. 5. Which player must deliver for Toronto to move on? Passan. In the Blue Jays' 6 wins this postseason, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is 15 for 26 with 5 home runs, 10 RBIs, and 1 strikeout in 30 plate appearances. He is a human litmus test and a reminder that as Vlad Jr. goes, so go the Blue Jays. Getting a good start from Bieber would help plenty. Toronto's bullpen this postseason has been so helter-skelter, relying on any reliever for too long is inviting disaster. But amid the endless cycling of pitchers expected in Game 7, the players with the opportunities to do the most will be on the offensive side. And in the ALCS, no one has been better than Guerrero, who has struck out just twice in 47 plate appearances this postseason. Only Bieber, due to all the uncertainty presented by the Toronto bullpen. It's unclear how much Hoffman can provide following his Game 6 outing, and while Varland is trusted, he's also going to be working on back-to-back days. Jays manager John Schneider talked before Game 6 about possibly using Max Scherzer out of the bullpen or maybe Chris Bassett, but it's difficult to know exactly what he's going to get from either. The Jays traded for Bieber at the deadline in the hope that he could pitch meaningful games for them, and it's hard to imagine a situation more important to a franchise playing for the opportunity to go to the World Series for the first time in 32 years. 6. Call your shot. Who is one unexpected player you think could decide Game 7? Schoenfield. Ernie Clement has become less surprising as the postseason has rolled along, as he's hitting .447. Remarkably, he and Guerrero have struck out just twice each in 10 postseason games. That sums up Toronto's advantage at the plate. These guys put the ball in play. Considering Guerrero might not see a pitch any closer than Manitoba in this game, the players coming up behind him might have to do the damage. And Clement is one of those who will get RBI opportunities. Passan. Crawford bats in the bottom third of the Mariners' lineup and has only 2 hits in the ALCS. So why him? Well, he's due for one, but beyond that, Crawford puts together excellent plate appearances every time up. His 4.5 pitches per is the second highest number among regulars, and he has the lowest strikeout rate among any Seattle player this series. During the regular season, Crawford's high leverage numbers were off the charts, .340/.476/.620. He craves moments that matter, and none in the history of the Mariners franchise matters as much as a Game 7 with a chance to go to the World Series. 7. And really call your shot. Which team will be the last one standing in this ALCS? Castillo. I've written this before and I'll write again. I picked Seattle to win the World Series before the season began, so I'm not going to deviate from that, even though the Blue Jays have been the better team since dropping the first 2 games of this series. Seattle rebounds with a 6-4 win. Passan. The coin flip nature of postseason baseball is personified by the record of home teams in winner-takes-all games, 71-67. And considering how back and forth this series has been, either team emerging would make plenty of sense. The idea that Kirby and Bieber both shove is very realistic, which would make this a battle of the bullpens. With Andres Munoz able to work multiple innings after 2 days rest and Hoffman coming off a 35-pitch outing. Though, the edge tilts ever so slightly in Seattle's favor. The Mariners advance to their first World Series with a 3-2 win. Bonus. Which team should the Dodgers want to see move on? Or is L.A. simply too good for it to matter? Passan. Simply because Los Angeles would have home field advantage and less strenuous travel. The answer is Seattle. In terms of talent, as the ALCS has illustrated, the Blue Jays and Mariners are about as evenly matched as it gets. The Blue Jays lack an effective left-handed reliever against the Dodgers lineup with Shohei Ohtani. Freddie Freeman and Max Muncy would work decidedly in Los Angeles' favor. Similarly, the Mariners have difficulty hitting high-octane fastballs. Their regular season OPS against 97 MPH plus heaters was .639, compared to Toronto's MLB best .766. And while they have hit 4 home runs off such pitches in the postseason, they remain susceptible. In the end, whoever advances faces a juggernaut that will be heavily favored and rightfully so. Only, in speaking with some evaluators with other teams, there is near unanimity in the opinion that the Blue Jays would present a better challenge to L.A. because of the nature of their offense. They can put the ball in play more consistently and, of course, have Guerrero. With all due respect to all of the future Hall of Famers in the Dodgers lineup, Guerrero would be the most dangerous hitter in any series he played in right now. We'll see that in Game 7, when it seems very likely the Mariners will pitch around him just about every opportunity they have. An appropriate response when facing a guy who has more homers, 6, than strikeouts, 2, in the postseason.
Matthew Schaefer has had quite the debut in the NHL, hasn't he? He has scored a point in every game he has played, including a fun first NHL goal. ESPN analyst John Tortorella noted that he reminds him of Hall of Famer Chris Pronger with his skating. That's not bad at all for the New York Islanders' first overall pick from the 2025 draft. The debut has also been historical. Schaefer started his NHL career with a 5-game point streak and counting. That's the second longest point streak by any defenseman from the start of their career, behind only Marek Zidlicki, 6 games, in 2003 to 2004. He is the first 18-year-old defenseman in NHL history to achieve that. Every other 18-year-old on the list was a forward. His first NHL goal was electric. There was a big scrum in front on an Islanders power play. Amid the chaos, the puck was lost, and Schaefer barged in from the blue line and poked a puck that was barely visible under Logan Thompson's pads into the net in a seamless motion. Among his many other traits, the hockey IQ is quite high. Schaefer turned 18 on September 5, just over a month ago. He is the youngest defenseman to make his NHL debut, to record a point in his NHL debut, the youngest NHL player on record to score his first goal on the power play, and the youngest player to play 25-plus minutes in a game. He's also garnering a lot of early Isles franchise player of the future nods from the Islanders faithful. It might be a bit early to be doling out accolades like that, but Matthew Schaefer is definitely fun to watch, and the best is yet to come. Obviously, the biggest game of the week, from a storyline perspective, is Brad Marchand returning for his first game in Boston. He was injured the last time the Panthers visited Boston, so all of the pomp and circumstance will come during this game. Marchand is a banner and statue-level guy in Beantown, without question. I expect an extended ovation, then the fans booing him when he levels David Pastrnak in a scrum. 2 playoff teams from last season. Star power aplenty, with Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, and Jesper Bratt on one side, against Austin Matthews, William Nylander, and John Tavares on the other. But there's another wrinkle to this one. Greg Wyshynski and I created a brand new North American Hockey Championship title belt for our digital show, The Drop, and it's currently held by me thanks to the Canadian victory in last year's Four Nations face-off. This is how title defenses work for every Canada versus USA international game, men's or women's. The title is automatically on the line. In addition, the challenger can choose any NHL game with any sort of Canada versus USA connection for the belt to be up for grabs. In this case, it's easy. An American team visiting a Canadian one, and it's the team for which W.Y. Sage grew up rooting against the one for which I grew up rooting. If the Devils win, then the U.S. is the new North American hockey champion. If the Leafs win, Canada retains. What I like this weekend. Friday was a big day for college hockey. On paper, Boston University versus Michigan State was already a heavyweight matchup. 34 NHL prospects with 20 NHL teams were represented in the game. The game was broadcast on ESPN2, which is terrific for a matchup so early in the college hockey season. This is the dawn of a new era of NCAA on the ice, with the rules surrounding CHL players changing and the continued growth and interest in the college game. The Spartans led 2-0 through 2 periods, but BU fought back, and the game went to overtime tied 3-3. BU's Cole Iserman, Islanders prospect, appeared to win it, but MSU's Shane Van Sage Flyers swept the puck away before it crossed the goal line. The Spartans brought it back the other way, and Matt Baskell, undrafted, scored off a feed from Riker Lee Predators. Also, count me in as a fan of the NHL's newest mascot, Tusky. I like Tusky's overall look, and particularly his dark blue mohawk. I thought the introduction of breaking through blocks of foam ice was cute, and the name is easy for kids to say. I'm a massive fan of mascots. They are critical to game presentation and in-arena fun, to social content, and especially to helping kids and new hockey fans make core memories. I look forward to seeing what fun things the Mammoth have planned for Tusky. Vegas center Jack Eichel leads the league with 15 points. He had some support for the heart among our ESPN hockey crew this preseason, and could remain a top candidate all season, particularly if the scoring keeps up. Speaking of lighting up the scoreboard, Ottawa Senators forward Shane Pinto has 7 goals through 6 games, with all 7 of them at even strength. The Senators will need to find other sources of scoring while Brady Tkachuk is out, given that goaltender Connor Hellebuyck won the Hart last season. We can't forget the netminders this season either. You would have to take a long look at New York Rangers goalie Igor Shesterkin. Despite going 2-1, he boasts a .962 save percentage and is allowing only 1 goal per game on average. Scott Wedgwood might win out among goalies, however, as he has started the season 5-0-1 with a .938 save percentage, saving 136 of 145 shots for the first-place Colorado Avalanche. And hey, if the season ended today, I'd even toss Matthew Schaefer's name in the mix based on all the ridiculous stats I highlighted earlier. Hockey social media post of the week. One of my favorite people on social media is Kickball Dad, especially when the Miami Dolphins do something to annoy him, or he's zipping around the backyard on his mower. He might also be the first person in recorded history to shoot hockey pucks on the beach in the Bahamas. He's also a massive Devils fan and made a video going to the home opener. Trust me, it's never too early to compile trade candidates, especially not in light of how many fantasy managers panic prematurely every single year. 5 shots and 0 points through 4 contests. I guarantee, no matter how rich the history or reputation, that player will be volleyed via trade to others in leagues everywhere. Having access to the cold data offered by ESPN Fantasy's background transaction numbers, I can assure you as much. You should see some of the big names being shifted back and forth already. With that view, in such cases of hasty hysteria, here's a quintet of underperforming big names to target via trade, plus a handful of over-rostered figures that show less promise of turning matters around. Elias Pettersson, F. Vancouver Canucks. I know. As Yogi Berra would suggest, also popularly mined as a title for many serial television episodes. It certainly does feel like deja vu all over again, but not in the light and bouncy fashion, mister. Berra communicated, especially for Canucks fans. With 2 assists on 4 shots through a quartet of contests, Pettersson is underwhelming once more. After last season's drama-flavored thud of a campaign, the center's fantasy managers and frustrated Vancouver fans alike have every right to feel irritated. So why try to snag him for your own fantasy squad? Because the ceiling remains high. Still only 26 years old, Pettersson is 3 years removed from 102 points and 2 from 89. On Sportsnet Radio this week, former Canuck Jannik Hansen put forward that the club's top center has to be better for Vancouver to go anywhere this year. He's right. So while a trade for no 40 could fall terribly flat, the gamble still makes sense if your fantasy roster is middle of the road. Who cares about finishing 5th? Alex Ovechkin, F. Washington Capitals. This guy's no stranger to sluggish starts. The NHL's leading scorer earned only 2 goals in his first dozen games 2 seasons ago and still ended up with 31. He potted all of 2 in his first 7 last year, then rolled for 44 in 65 games. With sights set on 900 and well beyond, Ovechkin isn't winding down his career with a whimper. Fully recovering from a minor injury suffered in camp and shooting on net more often will help. Artemi Panarin, F. New York Rangers. Maybe he's still a bit banged up after suffering a pair of minor injuries in training camp. Perhaps ongoing contract negotiations and related trade talk are more distracting than either side would like to admit. Either way, a pair of assists on 13 shots through 6 contests isn't going to cut it. On the upside, the Rangers' top power play, including Panarin on the point, looks pretty good. They won't be hovering near an 11.8% success rate much longer. Plus, the 33-year-old can't be hobbling too badly when logging more than 21 minutes per game. Panarin hasn't paced out at less than a point per game since his second season in 2016-17, averaging 1.27 between then and now. The Rangers face the Montreal Canadiens, Minnesota Wild, San Jose Sharks, and Calgary Flames this coming week. Toss out an offer. Evan Bouchard, D. Edmonton Oilers. It hasn't been a pretty opening for the Oilers' top defender. Never mind the point drought to date, Bouchard been far from brilliant otherwise, serving as a well-rounded calamity in Thursday's thoroughly earned loss to the Islanders. Nevertheless, We've seen such shaky play from the gifted offensive defenseman before. As long as he's logging heavy minutes, earning quality chances with the club's best up front and anchoring Edmonton's top power play, Bouchard will start steadily denting the score sheet again soon enough. As fellow blue liner Matthias Ekholm put it, I'm pretty sure we'll see a different Bouchard on Saturday. Fantasy managers might consider lobbing a reasonable offer for the top 10 blue liner before he gets back in scoring gear. Darcy Kemper, Los Angeles Kings. Big breath, please. The sky isn't falling in as some might suggest. Essentially losing their past 3 games by a single goal. The Pittsburgh Penguins added an empty netter. The club can largely blame a shoddy special teams effort, and in Thursday's case, uninspiring net-minding by backup Anton Forsberg. Promisingly and fortunately, the Kings' 5-on-5 play is starting to appear solid. Once they clean up other matters, the ship will right itself in Southern California again. Also, nominated for the Vezina last year, Kemper finished in the top 3 in ESPN Fantasy Standard Leagues. How far do you expect the guy to fall? If your goaltending core lacks fantasy pizzazz, chase AS no. One down via trade while he recuperates from a minor lower body injury. Trade away. Carter Verhaeghe, Florida Panthers. We often become too influenced by a player's accomplishments in the postseason. Following up an impressive run the year before, Verhaeghe's 23 points in 23 games this past spring went a long way in helping the Panthers secure their second straight cup. While appreciably clutch, an irrelevant sum in the regular season fantasy sphere. Collecting 20 goals and 33 assists, -14. In 2024-25, the Florida winger averaged only 1.6 fantasy points per game in ESPN's standard competition. Now the team is without top center Alexander Barkov months, Matthew Tkachuk many weeks, and blue liner Dmitry Kulikov months. In trying to fill another roster need, try to mine Verhaeghe's name value and playoff reputation for a reasonable return. Frank Vetrano, Anaheim Ducks. He's averaging 12.35 on the third line, seeing essentially 0 time with the extra skater, 35 seconds total thus far, and leading everyone with a team worst -4. Vetrano's 37 goal/60 point 2023-24 campaign was a long time ago now. Sure, try to trade the guy and best of luck. There are still likely better options for the grabbing on your wire. Brock Faber, Minnesota Wild. Without question, Faber's a heck of a hockey player, one any NHL team would relish to have on board. But rookie Zeev Byam is currently anchoring the Wild's top power play, while Jarrett Spurgeon patrols the second. So unless the defender starts blocking a lot more shots than is his habit, fantasy managers should consider putting him on the block. Good chance another manager will feel enticed by his rookie output of 47 points, 2023-24, and current robust 86.2% rostership in ESPN fantasy leagues. Ilya Sorokin, New York Islanders. Of course, the Islanders play their best game of the season when backup David Rittich is in net. The 3 losses preceding Thursday's 4-2 win against Edmonton, in which Sorokin looked far from fantastic, and worse, terribly unconfident, were wildly different tales. It's one thing to enjoy the advantage of shaking off feelings of doubt and uncertainty behind a well-oiled machine. Sorokin is a great goalie who doesn't feel great at present, playing for a definitely not great team. You decide how patient you want to play it here.